Welcome to Sober Solutions. We are a weekly recovery podcast not affiliated with any particular 12-step or recovery program. However, you may hear us mention them. My name is Jason, and I'm an alcoholic and addict.
My name is Chris, and I'm an alcoholic and addict.
My name is Ben. I'm an alcoholic and addict.
And welcome back to Sober Solutions Podcast. Tonight is episode 32. And tonight we're going to explore the world of sober living. And to do that with us is Alex N. from Atlantic City, New Jersey. Hi, Alex. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's very nice to have you on the show. And I know you're almost at 11 months, so congratulations on your time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey?
All right. I'm Alex, addict, alcoholic. So I'll start from the beginning real quick. I was actually adopted from Guatemala when I was 9 months. I was raised by two moms, and I kind of grew up in the rooms. My one mom, she's been sober for 35 years now. And my other mom, she was sober, but, she sadly relapsed when I was younger, and she's still out there. So, that childhood, it was really good in the beginning, coming from that third world country and really just having everything given to me, just someone, giving them a great life. And, all throughout my life, it was just happy, until like the third grade, my parents started, fighting a lot. They were going to get divorced, and mostly because, one mom relapsed and they just, never got along really. And so they finally split up, and, that's when I feel like not my like drug addiction or alcoholism came in, but like I started being sneaky. I started being like dishonest and manipulative, really, towards both of them. Turning them on each other. Just trying to get what I wanted. So I feel like lying was my first addiction, and that got me out of myself, got me out of trouble, and it really just took over. So I went on through my life like that. Middle school, whatever, and by the end of middle school, I'd say like 7th, 8th grade, I wasn't happy with myself. I felt like I always never fit in. I had friends, but it wasn't the people who like, I wanted around me. I looked up to, as people would call them, like the bad kids, the hoodlums, really, that people would call them, and I idolized that, mentality, that, their lifestyle. Like growing up in the projects, all of that, like them having it not good, but like still having like material things, like I just looked up to that, and I wanted to be that person, so like I changed the way I talked, I changed the way I dressed, all that. And, I was always a follower, never a leader. So of course, when they brought, marijuana and alcohol into the mix, I couldn't say no. That was what they were doing, and that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to, show people that's who I was. So I started, smoking here and there, and I was always warned, by my mom that, this could happen to you, even though it's not like genetics, because I was adopted, but I do believe that, that I have that gene. But I started smoking or whatever, and I got in trouble. I got caught, and my parents thought it would be a good idea to send me to Catholic school. They thought that would put me in the shape, trying to start my life over. So freshman year, I started St. Rose High School. And that summer going into it, I didn't want anything to do with that, I was just so scared. I knew no one going into it. I didn't know what to expect, but the first day I really turned it from being bad to good. I was like, this is a place where I can, you know, I can shape who I am, not who I was, but like I can, show them who I wanted to be, and I came off as like that hoodlum, wannabe gangster. And when I was, freshman, all of that. And I began selling alcohol at school because I found out that I looked older than I was. I was only like 15 at the time, but like I can go into a liquor store and they'd sell me alcohol. So once I got my hands on that, I felt like the friends started coming in, like, yo, Nappy, can you get me this? Can you get me that? So I really I thought I had the power, and of course I got in trouble all the time, you know, suspended, almost got kicked out, for doing dumb stuff like that. But it just really, that took over, and all throughout my high school career, I was just trying to get over, just being sneaky, just wanting to drink and use, and it really didn't start kicking in till like junior year where I just started drinking on the weekdays, like I was staying with my mom who relapsed, so she really wasn't paying attention a lot to what I was doing, and I was taking advantage of that, her vulnerability, and I was just drinking on the weekdays, it was a weekend thing, but then it was just like vodka every day, alone, just in my bedroom alone, and at first it was, just to have fun or whatever, but then it was just to like drown everything out, get me out of myself. So, that just happened all throughout senior year. And then senior year, I got arrested, for marijuana. And that put a stop to my drinking and using because I needed to go to this program, all that. I was underage, so they sent me to this program. And so I stopped, and, it's just terrible, even though I got in trouble for, using, I still wanted to, and I tried to, I was a dry drunk basically, I was doing all that. And then I just said, forget it, like I'm just gonna keep doing what I was doing. Maybe I can do it different this time. Then insanity kicked in, doing the same thing over and expecting different results. And I did that. I got arrested again, same stuff, and it just kept going on and on like that. And I wasn't doing anything about school, not really caring. And that last time I got arrested was like right before I graduated, so I always found a way to ruin occasions, holidays, birthdays, vacations, just because of my drinking and using, and I ruined my graduation, and it was just, a bad way to end the year. And my parents, went against their better judgment, and they sent me off to college, and I had that all figured out, all paid for, nothing, like I just had to go and, do what I needed to do. And, of course I'll be like, yeah, I'll meet the right people, I'll do all that. First day, got that first couple seconds, I was already trying to find people who could buy me stuff, so that was crazy, like just having all that freedom to myself. My parents gave me a credit card. It just went, crazy downhill. And, drinking, using other things, trying to experiment. It just really took over my life, not going to class, all that. And then Corona happened. So I came home. And yeah, of course I couldn't even do school in person. So I'm definitely not doing it online, so I was just drinking, using all the time. Until this one day where I got like really drunk, and I think I hit my head and I fell in the pool. And like my parents were home, thank God. But if they weren't, like I could have drowned, And then that was like really like, yeah, you got to go to rehab. There's more things in the past, but like they just thought like, he'll get in trouble enough, like he'll grow out of it. But no, that never happened. So the pool incident was like the last straw. And I went away to rehab, did that. I told people what they wanted to hear, and it just didn't work out. I came home, I tried to be sober, but I was really a dry drunk. I was telling them I was going to meetings, going to see people that are sober but not, and then I eventually relapsed, thought I could handle it and thought, control it. But now, as soon as I picked up, it went right back to where it was, and just stealing from work, just ruining everything. So I went back to rehab in December, and I really thought like maybe I'll give this a chance, because I didn't want to be this way no more. There were times where I prayed like, God, just like take me out of it, and I didn't want to be alive no more. So I prayed for the first time really, and I got sent to this program down here in Ventnor, Surfside. That really saved my life. I feel like, learn how to be sober but having fun. So I did that. I graduated the program, and then I went and moved into an Oxford house where I'm at now. And I'm really just taking the all the tools that they gave me from Surfside and doing it in my own life, And I'm just grateful for where I'm at right now. I couldn't do it without, my higher power, my network, my sponsor. I got a sponsee now. Like, it's crazy to see where I'm at now and to see like where I was, So there's I definitely been growing, and there's more growing to do, and the biggest thing I really go by is a day at a time. I'm only 20 years old right now. I feel like this is like prime years. People are doing all that experimenting, but I always took it to the next level, So if anyone out here is listening and they're young, last thing I got to say is, yeah, take it a day at a time, and it does get better. You don't have to be sober for the rest of your life. You just got to be sober for today. So with that, I'm gonna keep coming back, and thank you.
Awesome, Alex. That's really great. And for being so young, and having the time that you do, it's very inspiring. It's very inspiring. I really identified with you when you were talking about, being sneaky and how lying was your first addiction. I think that's an incredible line right there, because I know for me, just sitting in the house that I'm sitting in right now, I had so many lies, and I was sneaking around, or I thought I was sneaking around. I'm sure it was apparent to everybody else, but you know, I just wanted to hide everything that I was doing because I knew it was wrong, but I didn't care. I didn't give a shit. I still wanted to do what I wanted to do. Um, and I also liked how you were talking about idolizing the bad kids, quote unquote, or I think you called them a hoodlums. I think seeing those kids that were older than you having things that you wanted without doing the work to get them, either however they were getting them, that became an easy win for you, so I really see how that became its own addiction, and led to other things. One thing that I'm interested to hear more about is, growing up with two sober parents and then one real sober parent. Did your mom have a big influence on you to get sober, or did she kind of step back? Because I've heard both ways, right? I've heard parents kind of take a guiding hand in it, and I've heard parents say, I just stepped back. I couldn't really say anything. The worst thing for me was to watch my child have to figure out their own path, So just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I feel like my mom and my stepmom, she got remarried. They were in my life, most of the time, because I stopped being with the mom who was using, and I started living with them full time. So yeah, they did inspire me, really. They tried to bring me to the meetings, and I didn't know what it was about, and I wasn't really ready to understand it. And then when I got deep into my addiction, really, my mom, she just like accepted it. She was like, if he wants it, he'll do it. If not, then, I've helped him. Like, it is what it is, really. But yeah, this time around, definitely like she's kind of stepped back, because this is like I feel like my last chance. I've had chance after chance after chance, and I'm either gonna do it or not. It's my life. So yeah.
Alex, just echoing what Jason said about that first addiction being lying and getting away with it. I mean, I always say that's where my addiction really started. Fourth grade, waking up at 4 a.m. to do my math homework instead of doing it when I got home from school because I wanted to go out and play. That's really where it started for me. The thing that I love, about you being 20 years old, coming, adopted, being raised by two moms, there is a lot in there that a young person wouldn't, to be able to process that, to be able to handle all of that. One, I think it's probably relatively easy for people to see, a reason why you were trying to escape. A lot of questions there, a lot of things for a young kid to figure out. But on the flip side, to find recovery and get it. And, it's funny hearing you would coming up on 11 months, which is awesome. You, you are like a, poster child right now. All the sayings, all the lines. And that's beautiful because that's not being a dry drunk. That's getting in the midst of it and believing it. And at 20 years old, instead of living up to the standards of the cool kids, being sober is cool. So, do you feel, I know you said you don't have to be sober the rest of your life. You just have to be sober for today. Was that a hard thing for you to get through, this idea that, you're going to hit 21, God willing, and not drink like a normal, or, not celebrate like a normal 21-year-old would, you get married one day, you're not going to, drink at your wedding. Like, is that something that you know, dealt with, or did you just embrace that one day at a time and said, nah, screw it, we're just going to do this one day at a time and we'll deal with it, when the day comes?
Yeah, definitely at first I felt that, and that's where my sponsor is the one who actually told me that, not the rest of your life, just for today. Because, like, yeah, I was bringing that stuff up to him, like you said, weddings, parties, the 21st birthday. How am I going to get through that? But yeah, after he said that, I really have to take it a day at a time, and that helps me stay in the moment, stay present. Like right now, I'm here, I'm just talking with you guys, I'm not worried about what's going to happen next. I'm not worried about what tomorrow's going to bring. But yeah, really a day at a time thing.
That's beautiful. And the other thing I want to touch on real quick, you've got a sponsee, which is it's a big responsibility. You know, I've got one sponsee. He's all right. He's all right. Well, he's Matrix, and he's a hell of a sponsee. But no, I mean, for me, like, that was nerve wracking for my first sponsee. It was and I told him straight up. I was like, listen, dude, this is I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to show you the way I was, shown. And that's all that I've done. I really haven't deviated from how my sponsor showed me, so, did you feel any of that pressure? One, being so young, and two, being, you've been around the rooms for a little while, but, 11 months, some people are, you get those old timers that are like, don't say a word for at least a year. Well, and then I, picked the Matrix up pretty much around that same time, 11 months. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was a big responsibility, but like, I got asked to go and meet this guy, and I felt like right there, like, if that person didn't believe in me, like, he wouldn't have asked me. So he definitely saw something in me. He saw the work I was doing, the program I was working. So yeah, he put trust in me, and I was nervous. Of course, a sponsee sounds great, all that, but like once I really thought about it, like having that responsibility, having to be accountable, I really put like that in my mind that this is what I need to do. Like, I have gone through the steps, and now it's my turn to take someone through the steps. And of course, I had a lot of things that I was worried about then too, like my age, the amount of time I had. But again, my sponsor said like it's not about, doesn't matter with all those things. It's just as long as you take them through the steps as you were. So ever since then, like yeah, I I took that on, and it's going well. And he's definitely helping me as much as I'm helping him.
I think that's brilliant and very well said, Alex, because I had a sponsee at I think 4 months. And it's because I finished my steps, I did them thoroughly, and my sponsor said the same thing to me. It's time to take someone through the steps now, because that's the epitome of this whole 12-step program. That's the 12th step, giving away what we have. And so I really love how you are taking on that challenge, because I think you're absolutely right. It has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with your time in sobriety. It's the fact that you finished the steps and you're now able to take someone through the steps the way that you were taken through the steps. I think that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. My first question is, what made you make that decision to move into the sober living house?
Um, well, first, honestly, it wasn't up to me. My parents, they kicked me out. Like I was at Seabrook, and they were talking with my therapist, and they said, he's doing real well, but he's not allowed home. And I understand that. I put their house in danger. I put them in danger, and they don't gotta live that way no more. And that was hard for me to wrap my head around because I didn't expect that. But um, yeah, like once I got to sober living again, I was worried about, what people would think of me, and I don't know anyone. But instead, this time I chose to be the real me, who I really am deep down. And that really just helped me, make real good friends, close friends. And it's just, in those, I mean, it's telling me that like I'm not alone, really. Like there's many people that are trying to do the same thing that I'm doing, and they're helping me out, along the way too. So I'm glad that I finally made that decision. And because I was supposed to go to one in Long Branch in Oxford House, but I felt like that was too close to home, um, where I was living by. But yeah, I'm grateful that I got to come down to Ventnor and the Surfside, so.
That's just another, impressive little bit there that, you were mature enough to say, yeah, I'm not going to stick close to home, to changing the places, and that's a testament to your recovery, and what rehab did for you that time around. The the My first really exposure to sober living was when we were in rehab, and one of the therapists there, he was answering a question to somebody else, and he was in a similar situation to me, wife, kids at home, and he's like, what should I do? And the therapist was like, yeah, man, you should go to sober living. And I remember me and him were both like, what are you talking about, bro? We have wives and kids at home. Like, no, like we're and it wasn't until, many months down the road that I realized that like if I went home, I probably would have dove back into my old habits. It would have been a little while, but I would have done, I would have tried to show everybody that I was different, and I would have tried to manipulate it. And it wasn't really until that, that literally being put back into a bedroom that I grew up in, that it was like, oh God, like no, a lot more has to change. So from a, so obviously sober living is doing right by you. Is it, do you feel that it's still a little, they talk about that bubble in rehab. Do you feel any of that, that it's still somewhat, of a bubble, that, that there's still more real world out there for you to get exposed to? Or you feel that this is, a good transition into that?
Um, I feel like it's a good transition into that. Like I feel like the Surfside program, that was a big bubble. Like really structured. Someone was always breathing down your back, but it was for the good. It taught me how to come out into the Oxford House, like now. They suggest going to an Oxford House, like, to transition into, whatever, getting your own apartment, all that. But yeah, definitely where I'm at now, it took a little bit. Like I was nervous, like from going in there, like 6 months, being structured like that to being on my own, really, um, it took a lot, but I felt ready, I felt ready to do that. And I'm living like in the real world. I gotta piss in the cup every now and then, but that's it, really. It's all up to me, like what I do with my life. AC is like just down there. It's a 10-minute ride, so I make that decision like every day. Not to go there. You know, I can go anywhere in my car. I can do anything. But I choose not to because I know where that will. You know, I know where that will go.
Yeah, it sounds like sober living is not necessarily like the bubble of rehab, but enough of a support to help you get through these natural ways of reacclimating into life. Because one thing that I heard you say, or at least my interpretation of it, was you have this built-in community. You have people around you that are trying to do the same thing that you are, trying to live a sober life, trying to make the right decisions, trying to avoid those bad decisions, like you were just talking about, not going into Atlantic City because you know exactly what going into Atlantic City would do for you, right? So, talk to me a little bit about your community and the people around you that are doing the same thing. Have you been making friends? Have you been going to meetings with each other? Just tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I feel like down here in Ventnor, um, it's really like there are a lot of sober people and a lot of young sober people. Like my home group, GSY, getting sober young. Like, and that shows that I'm not the only one with this disease. That is a young person. So I feel like, yeah, like everywhere you go, people people are always there and ready to help. As long they might not know you, but they're always willing to lend a helping hand. Give a number, whatever. Invite you out to eat. Like it's after a meeting. Like it's great down here. I met a lot of close people. From the program I was in and outside of it. And it's just it's a real cool place. To get sober. So I'm happy about that.
The so yeah, sober living, positive, great transition step. What would you say is been the hardest thing for you in sober living?
You gotta be able to accept that not everyone wants to do this. Like they may be in the house, but like you don't know if they're forced to be there, or just they want to be there. So I've seen a lot of people come and go, and it's sad. You get close to them, and then they'll relapse or something like that. But you want to help them as much as you can.
Do you think that if you hadn't been forced into that position, you would have gone into sober living, or do you think you would? Because I obviously talk about in rehab and Seabrook, and is or do you feel that that's one of those things where wasn't your will, but maybe somebody else's will, and getting you into that place?
Like if it was up to me,
Yeah, like if they
yeah,
if they said, Alex, where are we going? Are are you going back home, or are you going to sober living?
I feel like I would have went in sober living because this time around, I was willing to do anything. That's a big thing. You could be ready, but like, are you willing? Willing to take sacrifices. Step out of your comfort zone. So like, yeah, I was ready to do anything I needed to. Because I didn't want to live that way.
Big kudos to you, man, and thrilled for you coming up on 11 months, and when you hit that year, let us know. We'll reach out.
For sure. Thank you.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what Ben was saying, your choice to go into sober living, even if you weren't being pushed into it, um, I think really shows your willingness to work this program, and your willingness to get and stay sober, because I've heard this countless times. I'm sure the three of you have heard this countless times that we need to do whatever it takes to get and to stay sober. Because when we were active, we did whatever it took to get fucked up. And so the same has to be in our sober life, right? So I really applaud you for that, and I love that you would have made this choice regardless if the options were available to you. So, my last question for you, Alex, is, along your journey, almost 11 months sober, you've already said some of these really great things, like one day at a time, and really, take this seriously, be honest. What's one piece of advice that you would give a newcomer? Someone just coming into the program, someone within their first year of sobriety like yourself. What's one piece of advice that you would give them?
Um, I feel like, don't give up, really, because there's a lot of hard times. Um, and even now, with the amount of time I have, there's still days where I want to throw it all away. Like a thought might pop in, and I know I can easily do that, but you just gotta look at the bright side, really, and know that it will get better.
I think that's excellent advice. Excellent advice. And Alex, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Congratulations on your time. I hope that your journey continues, and have a great night.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, bud.
Thank you for having me.
Wow. I just applaud him so much. I mean, being 20 years old, going through rehab, living in sober living, having almost 11 months sober, being a sponsor, this kid is living his program. He is living this program. And it's interesting how similar some of our story is. I'm adopted. I always, not so much when I was younger, but when I was like maybe like 20s, mid 20s, I'd see all these people like not working and having all of this stuff. And that's what I was chasing. I was chasing all of this stuff. I never knew where it came from. Now I do. But I always wanted to be like, why can't I just like sit on my ass and have a new Lexus or, stuff like that? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. The the thing with, you know, especially people that young in recovery, you worry if are they going to hit those things of, 21st birthday, friends' 21st birthdays, weddings, you start getting into the workforce and now dinners and liquid lunches, and these are all things that they've never experienced. But the thing is that that's our experience, or you should say my experience. I'm turning that, I'm projecting that on them. And it's not a matter of, but you're not going to get to experience that because they've already seen the light. It's funny because when people say to us, because we are quite young, but when people say, "Oh, I wish I got it at your age," you know, I don't I don't wish that I got it at Alex's age because Alex got it when he was supposed to get it, and I got it when I was supposed to get it, and and that bottom was low enough for him at that point where he decided he had had enough, and he doesn't need 21. And you know what? I'm going to a wedding in a couple weeks, and I don't need to drink, and I'm good with that. And so, yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing that I just love because it's just about committing. It's about committing. It's not about anything else. I mean, and the book says it. That's what you just have to have the desire. And once you have the desire, you find the commitment. And then once you have the commitment, everything else is it's bullshit. That's the one, everything else is an excuse. And to hear him be so open, to be so vulnerable to say, yeah, there's some days that I wouldn't mind tossing it away, you know, and that's the kind of stuff that we've had guests on that are older than he is that have time that and
Yeah.
you don't hear stuff like that from them because there's that reservation and he doesn't have that, and that's just the only way you recover.
Yeah, totally. There was a lot in what you just said. That last point was, he was so open with his honesty, right? And I was actually driving down here to the beach today, and for some reason, a thought popped into my head like, man, I'm really going to miss drinking this summer. And I was like, where did that come from? Like, where did that come from? And there's not a time that I would throw it away because, I was just talking about this yesterday at a meeting. It's much easier for me to stay sober than get sober again. And in fact, I really think that I have another relapse in me. I mean, I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict. I absolutely do. But I don't have another recovery. And that's what's keeping me here. And it's so much easier for me to stay than to go back out and come back in. Another thing you mentioned was his age. All of those things like 21st birthday, weddings, parties, liquid lunches, all of these outings, he can still go be social without being fucked up, And just like you were saying, that is part of our past. It doesn't have to be part of his future, and it's something that he's not necessarily missing, but that's a yet for him. Getting so drunk at a wedding that people talk about you more than they talk about the people getting married. Like, I may or may not have done that before. And that's a yet for him, just like heroin's a yet for me, and it's something that I don't have to do because I'm working my program today. And he just doesn't have to do that because I think you have an excellent point that he chose his bottom, and all of us get to choose our bottom. There's this saying like, we get to decide when to get off the elevator and start taking the steps.
Yeah, and the thing that I left out was that he doesn't experience, get to experience those things, but he doesn't have to experience what you just said about that waking up the next day and going, oh shit, and was one of the most sobering things ever. It gets you right through a hangover when you're like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I say? How bad was it? And it just that part. That's the part that is very convenient. The further we get, down the road in sobriety, the closer we get to a drink, because that idea becomes romantic. Sunday or is at my parents' house, and people were having a couple of beers, and I looked over and I was just like, damn, I can't have a beer watching football. And then I was like, so what? Who cares? Like, because it wasn't going to be one beer. I would have needed more. And then that, like, it's just you don't need it if you don't want it. And we don't have to do this. You only have to do it for as long as you're willing to put your body and your family and your mind through it.
I absolutely agree. And for anyone listening, if you're interested in sober living or want to connect with Alex, we are going to put his social media up in the episode description so you can reach out to him. If you have any questions, you can email us at sobersolutionspodcast@gmail.com. And as always, each and every one of our episodes is dedicated to the still sick and suffering alcoholic and addict, especially the individual who's going to pick up for the first time tonight. Have a great night, guys.
Have a good night.
We appreciate your liking and subscribing to our podcast. If you liked what you heard today and would like to support our podcast, feel free to Venmo $1 to our virtual basket at Sober Solutions Podcast. We want to hear from you too. If you have a comment, question, topic, or would like to come on the show, find us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube at Sober Solutions Podcast. Or you can shoot us an email to sobersolutionspodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And if you like what you've heard, Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review the show.